All right, well, let's get things started off. Match number 1, going to be taking ourselves another trip into the fog here. Going to be seeing Julian on the Nurse, Zynox, Nightfall, Yvonne, and Silhe out here on the Survivor side. And, you know, I think one of the things that we all know about, especially when we see our high tier killers, those high mobility killers, that really sets the tone is the first chase here. You really need to try and make sure that you're playing safe, of course, especially against the Nurse that can, you know, obviously not just move quickly across the map, but move through objects as well. You need to make sure that you're playing smart around pallets, playing smart around the map here as well. And seeing coming in here, we've got the Corrupt, of course, pretty common in your competitive DBD. We're going to be seeing the Pop as well as that Call of Brine. And we have seen that Agitation earlier used to try and make sure you're positioning those hooks right. Looks like that's going to be the game plan here as well.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very aggressive build coming out here on the Nurse in the first set. But one of the things that the Survivors are doing really well right now was being hidden, but Yvonne will finally be found and also in the corner. This is going to be a very quick down if they're not careful. Oh, the plus 10 wood. We hit a tree. That's going to give them exactly the amount of distance that they needed, but actually, I lied. They ran into the killer for some reason. That's going to mean that this chase could even be shorter than I thought it was previously. Oh, but no. Julian not so confident in landing these blings just yet. Isn't going to be able to find... Yvonne's down, and the dead hard, as you just said, will come through as well. But one thing, look to the right of your screen right now. That's undetectable. We see a secret Nurse haunting around right now, going to try and use that to their advantage. Yvonne tries to go for the vault, but the down will come through. But what will also come through is that first generator popping right now.
Yeah, we're seeing our Survivors from Torment doing a really good job cranking them things out. Got the first one done already. Now you can't help but wonder if Julian might be able to find the generator that has the most progress in order to apply that pop, because it would be able to be a good benefit for you here. Now this hook being a little closer to the top of the map, as we've been able to see Julian trying to watch their way around. You've got the 3 gen arounds here, but this is going to be a free trade here. Zynox should be going down relatively, yeah, pretty easy there. I almost wonder if you go for the slug, but no, actually going to quickly go for the trade here. I think part of that is because you know that these generators that are around you have a very minimal pressure. Even I think that gen up in that top right portion of the map where a lot of our competitive players would call 1. Doesn't sound like there's much progress over here either. So you've got a pretty strong 4th gen setup if you're Julian here.
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention as we see another gen pop is that this is going to be the first match ever played in DBDL with the new Nurse. So we see this new add-on being brought in, the one that makes you undetectable. And I wonder how much value you're actually going to get off of that. Astray, or being the first killer to come out here on the Nurse, is going to be a little bit of a disadvantage because you're going to have to try new things, try to see what works, try to see how much value you get off certain things. And obviously these teams have been scrimming the Nurse since the rework, but you have to keep in mind this is their first time playing in a live game, so a lot of things are still new to them. A lot of things are still risks, but we will see the Deliverance, something that's not a risk thanks to the 100% Kobe attempt that you got right there from that Deliverance. So Zynox will get away, the BT will come through as well, and the follow-up from Julian will not land as well. Oh, is that a flashlight as well, preventing them from coming through? I think, oh, maybe that was just the generator's light, but it looked a little scary if that was someone with this flashlight. Oh, and it was. There's Zynox, preventing him from getting the next one. Another gen we can see on is getting worked on as well. So Julian really only has 2 hooks and 3 generators have already popped.
Yeah, this is really tough, especially because we do see that 3rd generator that does pop was part of that 4 gen we had mentioned earlier. I thought might have saw the firecracker there, might have been able to prevent the hit coming in. Isn't going to be the case. That means we got 2 Survivors here that have the potential of being on the ground, but you got rid of the chase on Zynox. Now it doesn't look like you're continuing chase with Nightfall. You need to make something happen. Yeah, you have 3 Survivors injured, but you need to start queuing some hooks. At least you get Silhe here.
Yeah, I mean, you do get him down. That's another fresh hook, 3 fresh hooks, but we're at 2 generators. We need someone dead. We need someone out of the game. We need more pressure. We have 3 injuries. You have to try and bet all your snowball on them, but this agitation that we see brought in by Julian is going to allow this basement hook to come in as well. And do we still have the main building 3 gen? It doesn't look like it. Maybe we do. Maybe there's one on the left side near what we would call one as comp players. It could be, but oh no. Avon will be right there as well, also pressuring the unhook, and Julian still won't be able to get the connection. Another generator goes, and yeah, it does seem like we do have that 3 gen, but will it be enough? That's the question. Avon makes it to where now everyone's injured. We have the undetectable. No one can really call out where the nurse is other than Avon, since I believe the reset just happened, but they should still have eyes on them thanks to the fact that it is Cold Tower. It's not the treatment theater. We do have line of sights everywhere.
Yeah, we do see that this middle gen, I mean, had very, very minimal progress on it. I don't think we've heard much as far as the one that's up top mid. You'll see that the reset does come in. I believe at this point we will end up seeing Silhe end up forced into the second stage. Remember, we've already seen the deliverance, so that second chance perk is going to be up and out of the way here. You see just a couple minutes or a couple seconds till we see that stage forced. The survivors have gone for the full reset here, but you mentioned that 3 gen. There's really not much progress into it as far as the objective here. Plus now a second stage is forced. Right now for Torment, they need to make something happen.
Yeah, we saw all 3 of them were surrounding this top area, but with Julian's position on the hill right there, he was able to see exactly where each of them were coming from and prevent them from making any meaningful progress towards this hook. However, now that Julian's gone down, one of them was able to sneak by. That is going to be Zynox down in the basement. Silhe will also take the BT hit. However, he won't be able to make much distance, but the flashlight from Zynox, that's so huge, preventing the tunnel out. However, that is allowing Zynox to take a lot of the pressure. He should go down fast, and honestly, ooh, Julian, if he lands this, he does! He does have a lot of pressure thanks to this 3 gen, and the agitation will activate as well, allowing him to go immediately back to the basement if he wants to.
Yeah, I don't think you take the risk of the basement at this point, honestly. I think you go for the quick hook, then try and use the last little bit of time. I mean, we can see that icon down the bottom right-hand corner, but actually, no, able to find Nightfall here. Going to be able to get the hit. That's going to be another health state change. You can't help but wonder, though, maybe I mean, you got to be able to, yeah, use this. Pop goes the Weasel here on that middle gen. That's big value, of course, because there's so much progress on it, really maximizing the amount of regression that you can get off it. If you manage to find another survivor that's injured, get them down, you earn yourself more regression. Able to get the hit here, get the down onto Zynox. Remember, you're allowed to tunnel at will. You don't have to worry about how quick you pick people up because you've already got some of your, you got your deliverance, so you know you got one less second chance perk in. That's Zynox gone. Now another pop goes the Weasel on this middle gen. Honestly, really seeing this nice little tug of war here in the middle portion of this game.
Yeah, this is honestly going to be a very, very exciting in-game. We have 2 people injured, but Julian doesn't have a lot of pressure on where these survivors exactly are, so you don't know where you need to be pressuring. He didn't even check the upstairs. They could be stealthing that as well, but no, they're going to go for the reset. A very smart play, I might add. Ivan is also going to be nearby, not going into the top. Playing it slow here, I think, is the correct play for the survivors. They need to make sure that Julian isn't able to get any more pressure than he already has. We do have a kill, but if you are able to get this last generator, if you're able to get even 1 out, it's going to be a great result against the Nurse on Cold Tower.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fight back here has been solid. The one thing, though, the survivors now all completely reset. The question becomes, can you find yourselves a good way to get to an attack here? You need still one more strong chase. Who's going to be able to give it to you here? That's the real question, because there's really no reason for Julian to go anywhere other than this Pride Rock right now. Maybe quickly blink up into that second floor of the Cold Tower, but otherwise you have so much LOS that you can just wait for a survivor. There's going to be Yvonne already found first tag. If you can get this down quick, you still have so much pressure.
Oh, but he misses.
Oh, no.
Oh, Yvonne was also just going to get the dead heart, even if Julian landed that. So that was a guaranteed getaway. He didn't even need to waste the dead heart here, but he'll find VLT immediately after anyway, so it doesn't really waste that much time. Nightfall and Ivan will both have to go all the way to the back of the map. Silhe is the only one who's allowed left up on the top side, and Julian immediately finds him, lands that blink, and Julian now will be on the back of him as well. Everyone injured. It all comes down to whether or not Silhey is able to keep this chase up, if the survivors are going to be able to get that last generator and potentially get an escape. In the meantime, Yvonne in the distance will be able to get reset. Nightfall should be nearby and getting that reset as well. However, Silhey goes down, and he goes down on the top side right next to the main building. Julian has agitation, but once again, not opting for the basement, not going for that risk, just taking the death onto Silhey. He didn't even need to go to the basement, since that is going to be the death onto him as well. 2 people remain. Julian playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, playing a very, very strong game. And this is where I really like the perks that you bring in here, right? Remember one time this middle gen, remember how much progress that thing had? Now it's knocked down to just about nothing, really showing the strength of that combination of the pop goes the weasel with the call of Brine here. I can't help but wonder, though, it's been a little while since we've checked on the other opposite corner gen. Did we maybe have Yvonne or Nightfall happen to pop up into that top left-hand corner of the map up there where a lot of people would call 11? It doesn't look like it, at least as far as on the Aces part. No, not on the Claudettes either. So unfortunately, both of them trying to just see if, I think they're trying to see if they can get Julian to start pushing away from these gens.
Yeah, but if you're Julian, why would you really? You know, he's going to go check main building, of course, but why would you go any deeper into the map? That is such a good hill spawn. We talked about this earlier. It was able to prevent any of the survivors from going forward, but now when it's left down to 2, now you're basically preventing them from doing anything at all in this game. They have to hide on the top side of the map. But keep in mind, like I mentioned during the Ghost Face set, there still is a rule against stalling. Eventually, they will have to work their ways towards those generators and start working on them if they want to not get a black card here.
So I got a question for you, Good Day, because I know you've got a little bit of comp background and experience, obviously more than just yelling into the mic like I do. What's your strategy here? Because obviously you would like Nightfall to maybe potentially make an end game play because you still have full all hook stages still left there. But how do you do this? What's the game plan?
Well, back in my day, Q, this is what we would call a DC for hatch situation. But Yvonne will be found out anyway, so we don't even have to worry about that. Yvonne now is going to go and try and chase him down away from the top side of the map. He's using these trees so good. We saw this at the start of the game as well. Able to avoid the first couple blinks, waste a couple more seconds. He has the dead hard. Keep that in mind. If he's able to make it further down, maybe towards 5, Nightfall should be able to start on these gens as well. But Julian waits for it, but it's not enough. Yvonne still had the distance. He didn't even need to use dead hard there. He would have gone away either way, but Yvonne will still go down. However, keep in mind, a little bit of juking around this walk, but keep in mind, the hatch is a guaranteed spawn at the shack. This is the place to die if you are Yvonne. This is exactly where you want to be, and Julian knows that, so he's not going to go for the pickup. He has to slip for the 4K, because even with agitation, I think there's still a chance for Nightfall to potentially get the chance if Yvonne dies fast enough, but honestly, I don't know. I think you could make it far enough, but still, it would be a little bit of a gamble, and Julian doesn't want to take that at all.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're trying to set the tone here, right? That this was Astray's pick, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, you want to really try and set the tone here, and again, especially like I was just talking about before, Nightfall has not been hooked. A fresh hooked survivor, escaping from the trial, whether it's doors, whether it's hatch, it don't matter. That's a really big point swing here, and they're going to be trying their best to really make sure that they're playing immersed, trying to hide in the shadows. But I mean, Julian does have plenty of time. Keep in mind, it's a 4-minute bleed out timer. We probably, around a minute that gone at this point today?
Probably a minute, 30 seconds, 45, something like that. Within that range, Julian's definitely going to need to try and remain on the location of where Yvonne is. If they don't want to get a little bit of that point penalty, Nightfall, in the meantime, is going to try to set up maybe for hatch, maybe for the generator, maybe for picking up the slug. One of those, each one of those are a valid objective for Nightfall here in this in-game, but Julian still has all the cards in his favor right now. We see him checking this left side of the map. Where is the slug? That's the question. He's also on the left side of the map. We see the nurse finds him. Will he go for the pickup? He will. Yeah. Now that he's closer towards the hatch, he doesn't see it as a gamble. The doors also should be known to Julian as well, so the location of the doors should not also be a problem either. All it comes down to now is whether or not Nightfall has a miracle and is able to escape this trial, and Julian should be guaranteed the 4K no matter what at this point.
Yeah, and you had talked about earlier the good spawn for this Hill trying to get those good points of view here. Quick to the other side of our tower. I wasn't sure if we had seen any feet across the way, but now just going to set up, make sure that they're good. Back here over at the hatch, and you had mentioned we should know as far as where the doors are, and I don't think there's a play here unless there's a miracle. I think this is going to be a 4K good day.
Yeah, like I said, it's almost guaranteed. We see the immediately closing of it, and Nightfall immediately gets on the door. It's already at 15%. Now it all comes down to whether or not the nurse is able to check the doors in times. They checked the one on the right already, so they have to head towards the left one. Nightfall knows that as well. Is he going to stick it? No, he's already gone, but the door was activated. He got in a locker. Will the nurse check the locker? This is going to be a huge play if Nightfall gets away, but I'm thinking if you're the nurse, you have to check this, right? It's right here. It's the only locker. There's no scratch marks. He was somewhere nearby. You have to check this locker. Come on. Please, please, no, don't run away. This would be a huge play from Nightfall. Huge swing, in fact, as well. If Julian doesn't check that locker, you have to know as the killer, there's no way for the survivor to make any meaningful distance without leaving scratch marks in such little time. I think you have to check that locker, but it doesn't seem like Julian is registering that just yet. He's going to go back to this door, but he has such a great position. If he goes on that hill once again, I think he can just watch both doors as well. Such a great spawn for that hill. Again and again, it's reminded in our heads.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, those doors, it's treacherous. I think Nightfall, you're seeing going to rotate over, hoping that maybe Julian full commits to checking some of the other lockers around there. Not seeing any scratch marks or anything, and having already checked over on this door a couple of times, but no, instead Julian just going to be chilling up here on Pride Rock. Has no reason to. I think maybe have already spotted Nightfall. Yep, there it is. There's going to be 2 blinks. Does not get the swing, but doesn't matter. Location's given, and this is going to be a 4K.
Yeah, without any more time left, there's basically nothing Nightfall can do. He can't go for another Houdini tactic here and go into another locker or make his way away out of this chase just yet. So no way to make it back towards the other door. Julian will get the first hit, and the second one should come through pretty fast. But I think the entity is going to take the kill onto Nightfall here in this trial.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, right, if you're the survivor, it feels like a moral victory if the entity takes you versus the nurse putting you down. So you at least get that to your advantage, but yet still, regardless, the scoreboard looks the same, which does mean, as far as for the survivors coming in from Astray, as long as you complete the gens, you'll be able to walk away with the dub. Again, I know we make that sound so easy, but it is a nice benchmarker, right?
Yeah, it definitely is a very good mindset to have. You know, when we talk about win conditions and stuff like that, you know, there are sometimes very complex win conditions that can lead to very complex feelings about what you have to do about this match. It can lead to confused thoughts about what exactly is the best decision to try and get the most points possible. So having a very simple one is going to be very freeing for the mind of Astray here, and sets up their survivors for very good spirits, not only because they have that 4K under their belts at 1 generator remaining, but also because they're able to have that very, very narrow or specific win condition there. However, one thing I want to keep in mind, though, is that Torment did not do this lying down. At the start of the match, these gens were flying, so Astray is going to have to put up an equal performance there to that early game if they want to show Torment out of this match, out of this first set. But we'll see all that and what remains after the short break.
All right, let's go ahead and take ourselves another trip here back into the fog, back to the cold tower for some more nurse action in our lower bracket between Torment and Astray. On the Astray side for survivors, Wispy, Julian, Zim, Kopi, all they need to do is complete the generators versus the nurse, which will be played by Yvonne here. I would say, you know, getting the gens complete is not an impossible task, but I do feel like knowing the experience that is going to be played from on the nurse's side, it is still a rather tall ask. Would you agree, Good Day?
Yeah, I do agree to some extent, especially after the nurse changes, because recharge was such a big factor to how effective nurse was. I think getting used to that definitely is going to not only lower how the players play, but also her actual potential here as a killer as well. However, one thing to point out, we do see a different add-on being brought. No more will we see that little bit of undetectable. Instead, I forget what that one does because they changed them all, but I'll look it up for you soon as we see her already entering this first chase. However, the question is, when will this first hit land and will it be impactful? We've already seen them on the Shack side of the map, which is exactly where you want to chase if you are Yvonne here. Zim will be found out also next to Shack. Doesn't really have a lot to work around. No flashlight either on this Kate, so the down should come through very fast, and there it is. We see again a very similar build as we saw last time. The agitation going to come through, but there is a hook very, very close by. In the meantime, the survivors need to start working on the generators. They need a lot of progress. However, as you see right here, Kopi already on 60% of one, and the nurse is nearby, but she's not interrupting it. Instead, she's going to stay around that hook. Kopi should be able to finish that generator. We see Wispy also trying to run around, is unfound as well, going in for that save. Julian is the one who gets found, but he's going to lead them away from where Wispy's going in for the save. So this is a great position for the survivors.
Yeah, a really good spot, especially because it looks like he should be able to get the reset pretty quickly here. However, you are able to interrupt that survivor you were talking about earlier that was on the Pride Rock, right? You are going to be able to get a pretty good amount of regression thanks to that. Pop goes the Weasel, and nobody is able to rotate over, get a touch on that gen relatively soon. You at least get some passive regression on it as well. But you'll see, leaving the chase, more worried about coming towards the middle of the map, trying to see if you can find a survivor that's caught out of position. But our survivors doing a really good job thus far. Pre-leaving gens when they hear the heartbeat, doing a good job of trying to make sure they're staying out of line of sight. Not going to be able to get the flashlight to be able to prevent the additional blink to prevent that M1. So now, injured survivor taking the loop around the Shack here. Is going to at least get picked out of the locker here. That's going to be a second hook stage.
Yeah, but that is going to be the first gen popping in the distance as well. And I can now bring you guys add-on descriptions by Good Day. That second add-on that we see there brought by Sally Smithson is going to be the Ataxic Respiration. That's going to reduce the fatigue from successive blinks by 7%. So they're going to be able to recover a little bit sooner from their missed blinks. But in the meantime, we see Whiskey is saved. I'm going to assume that was maybe Deliverance, maybe Second Wind. I can't really tell without going over to Wispy, but the next chase onto Julian, an injured survivor, keep in mind, is going to start. If this down comes through fast, Yvonne is going to be in a hell of a good position right now.
Yeah, definitely in a fantastic spot here, at least for now. But the one thing you can't help but wonder with 4 survivors still being alive, if they end up getting some resets, can they still continue to crank out some of these gens? We see, what, 2 separate gens that are at 50, make that 3 separate gens that are right around that 50%, and one of them being doubled up on here currently. But Dia is going to be found. That's Kopi. M1 pretty quickly here, which means you're going to have your 2 blinks back super fast here as well, and that's going to be another down.
Yeah, that was such a good find for Yvonne. Able to get that down really, really fast. However, there's still a lot of gen pressure up on the board. Julian and Wispy, though, are both injured, and the reason for that is also because of Fragile Wheeze. It now is applying the mangled status effect to every one of the survivors, and like I said, even though this down comes through and it was strong, we had so much gen pressure, and like Torment's gens that were flying in the previous game, the gens will fly in this one. 2 more done by the survivors of Astray.
Yeah, and also too, you'll notice you still have Astray has left one of these generators that's deep back on the Shack side. I would imagine they've realized that that 3 gen over on the top side of the map is still intact. So I guess it would be the question here. I know sometimes we see teams not, they leave that far gen away. Do you think you just go ahead and tackle that thing real quick just so you know that you only are focusing gens up on the top side? Or do you send all 4 survivors in the top side of your map, knowing that more than likely when you get later into the game, your killer's not going to be going back towards the Shack?
Honestly, I think right now what you do is exactly what they're doing right now onto Julian. Getting that reset, that's what's most important right here, not the gens. Because if you're in a good position to set up for that 3 gen, then you don't even have to worry about it as a factor, since you can just immediately just go back and forth, going for the resets as much as needed. And the nurse really can't do much about it because of how much pressure we already have on that 3 gen, thanks to Kopi earlier getting up to 50%. Wispy will go down on the opposite corner from Kopi's gen as well. If there's multiple people working on that. We might even see it pop right now. One person's on the opposite side of the map, and there's Kopi, returning back to it, but it's only at 40%. So Yvonne will get the hook nearby it and be able to pressure that. However, the reset does come in through onto Kopi. Wispy will take their second hook, but Yvonne still in a pretty bad situation, honestly, unless he's able to contest this unhook, which he isn't, since someone instantly sneaks by and is able to get that save.
That's absolutely huge here. You would have really liked to have at least tried to force a trade or force a double save or something. You had to check on the gens real quick to try and see if you can at least keep the 3-gen intact, so you can understand why Yvonne would have walked so far away from the hook. Now going to be able to find Julian. That's a tag, but you don't want to run too far away from this 3-gen. You see Yvonne going to go ahead and check back in on this generator up in that 10, 11, 12-ish, or that 10, 11-ish area. But it's still, we haven't been able to get it down. You need more downs. You're only sitting at 4 hooks right now, Good day.
Yeah, you definitely need a down, or you need a tunnel out. You could find Wispy once again, and if you do, that's going to be a death, but the survivors are going to be working on these generators. In the meantime, Kopi is also doing a great job of leading Yvonne away from these generators. A lot of progress is going to be gained on one of these if Yvonne isn't careful, so great from Kopi. The one on the shack side is going to get popped, but the resets should come through as well, meaning Yvonne does have a little bit of time to work with thanks to that mangled, but still, Wispy and Zim are all free to go over to the opposite side of the map and start working on these generators as well. So Yvonne needs to be very, very careful at this moment.
And now they can't help but wonder, seeing that all 4 survivors are now healed up and ready to go. Is the pressure, as far as on the side of Yvonne, got to be feeling it, right?
Yeah, I agree, but one thing I want to point out, we have a hill in the same location as we did last time, but because of where the generators are, this is a much, much worse hill for Yvonne here. He doesn't have the pressure to just go and blink to any one of those generators in one blink. He has to use 2, and Kopi knows that, so he's going to try and take the aggro. Gets a wonderful stun, baiting him into that. However, he doesn't get that extra fatigue thanks to that rework that Nurse got, but another stun will mean Kopi will extend this chase even more. What a juicer right now in this late stage of the game. This is exactly what the survivors needed now. Both of the survivors, Wispy and Zim, who were uninjured previously, are probably getting a lot of progress on either one of these generators.
Yeah, and you see a couple of scratch marks heading away from this gen here. That's actually going to be Julian getting found. Doesn't look like we have too much to work with here. Going to end up going down. Very well done by Yvonne there, but you can see that gen sitting, getting pretty close to 75%. 2 of them on it. Oh, another one of these gens is getting done.
Yeah, but one of them is getting done, and they're going to get done fast. Nothing that Yvonne can do here in this situation is going to be enough. However, there still is an opportunity for these survivors to die pretty quickly and still potentially get a 4K at all generators completed, but I don't think there's a way to stop it all from coming through right now, especially since Julian instantly gets saved off that hook as well. There's the last generator, and that's going to be the win on the first set from Astray. This was their pick, however, so don't think Torment's out of the race just yet. This is going to be a very, very close result if we see Yvonne actually coming in and getting this 4K.
Yeah, but I can't help but wonder how many stages we see get out these doors. All 3 survivors that are currently standing, they are all fully healthy, and because of the fact that you couldn't rely on endgame, our killer did not bring in any perks for the endgame. Doesn't look like anyone's around this pallet, I don't think. Oh, no, hold on, maybe potentially. Imagine the pallet save here at the end. I don't know if we have any doors ready yet though, so I'm not sure if it would be quite as big of a play as one might like, but doing a good job.
See the pickup? Oh no, they're not going to go for it. They're still going to stay around that pallet. That's interesting, I think, because Zim can be picked up here, but you want to try and get as much guaranteed distance as possible. But no, now that Kopi's brought him far enough, they are going to actually get the pickup onto Zim. Yvonne, honestly, this might be a 4-man out if Kopi's able to juice a little bit harder here. If he makes it to that in-game gate there, I think this might be the 4-out. We see the doors active. Oh, Zim's also active. Oh, we also see the flashlight activating there, but Zim is going to be caught out. I was going to say, he doesn't seem like he has enough distance. Yvonne Yvonne's gonna get the pickup as well, but there's not a firecracker, there's not a flashlight, and Yvonne will make it to this hook. However, Zim isn't dead on hook. We could see them coming in for a save, especially since Yvonne, even with agitation, isn't able to make much distance away from this gate. Yep, Julian is immediately gonna try and pressure this unhook. Wispy should be nearby, or healing Kopi. Either one would be a good result, but no, Kopi's just gonna leave. We might see Julian leave. They might take their 3. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you might as well, right? At this point, you've got the dub. Take your 3. You gotta be. Let's go ahead and get into the lobby and get prepped for this next set. Because if I know anything about Astray, as confident as they would feel going into the Death Slinger set, even off a loss, I think they want to wrap this thing up in 2 sets.
No, yeah, I definitely do agree. However, this was such a good result from Astray coming into this match. They did such a good job on their pick. You know, Torment had a great fight on the Survivor round, but the Survivors just played out of their mind, and because of that, we will have a final score of 43-26. Astray was able to take such a domineering lead here in this first set, and I'm going to wonder how we're going to see a response from Torment on the next set, which is going to be Mastermind after a short break.
All right, let's go ahead and take ourselves another trip here back into the fog. This time, instead of seeing Sally Spencer, we're going to be seeing the Mastermind here. We're going to be seeing Zynox on the Mastermind. Wispy, Julian, Chobani, Zaphis. Remind me, which map? Well, I guess we're going to see sooner than later. It's Suffolk, right?
It's Shelter. Shelter.
Woods.
Yes. A big, wide open area here for Zynox to prove himself on the Mastermind. We haven't seen a Mastermind for a while, not since All Hallows League. So it's going to be very, very exciting to see now some new teams outside of the ones on All Hallows League coming out on the Mastermind. Ooh, a very good throw onto Chobani. This should result in another hit. A 2-for-1 there from the start off on Zynox. This is such a good start for him as well, since he is nearby that basement. He could opt for it, but no, not going to go for it. Not going to risk the possibility of a Survivor going and body blocking him and preventing this first hook from happening at all. But now Zynox really needs to worry about finding his next Survivor. Since we're on Shelter Woods, like I mentioned previously, there's going to be a lot of open area, a lot of time for these Survivors to run away and make distance. It's going to be very important for Zynox to manage his power correctly to try and traverse this map as well. But what we've seen from other teams in All Hallows League previously is that, honestly, Mastermind has some pretty good results. We should probably see a 3 or 4K here coming out from Zynox if they want to show a good result.
Yeah, I mean, especially too because you need to set the tone this time around, right? Like, I mean, you just dropped your set. You need to come out here and walk away with a big result here. You got yourself an early down. That's the good news for you. You get over here back in this corner, so you do have a couple gens that you can kind of monitor. But the question becomes, as far as from the Survivors, how much are they cranking into the generators? It looks like was that 2 separate gens, or were they working together on one?
2 separate generators are already at 90%, and another one has just been started as well. Zynox does hit the second stage onto Chobani, but 2 of these generators are going to pop in no time.
That's going to be big here. It does. Oh, right. And Zynox's face as well. That's a big feels bad, bruh. And because of that, you are going to see Zynox obviously very quickly come back to the hook. Understandably so.
Oh, but the save comes through!
I don't know, though, right? Because the second stage had already been forced. I almost feel like you could have got more time instead of allowing the tunnel out to already start. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do agree with you to some extent there, but Chobani's going to make it to the shack, and Zynox is going to have a hard time playing around it. Oh, never mind. I forgot that the pallet was broken. This actually might be right. There might not be much that Chobani can do. Ooh, but Zynox misses his power, and that's what comes with the territory of Mastermind. Being a new killer, you're going to miss some of your shots sometimes. So because of that, we're going to see Chobani make a little bit more distance. Now making it to another tile, and we saw another Survivor was nearby, but Chobani will still go down. However, Zynox needs to be a little safe. We saw someone set it up for the save, and there they are. Zynox will find them, however, but ooh, Zaphis is going to get away with just an infection and no injure, unless Zynox wants to go for it and follow up. His power is already back up. He could go for the rushes once again, but no, just going to go for the M1, and now probably returning back to Chobani with his rushes. Yep, exactly what he's going to do. Chobani will be tunneled out here, but the question is, was another Survivor able to get nearby and go for a pallet save? That's the only saving grace for Chobani if there is someone nearby.
Yeah, you can see Zynox being super careful about it, checking around. The only problem is when you're more careful about checking everyone that's around when they're under the pallet, that also buys more time for people to come around to get close to the pallet, right? Doesn't look like that's going to be the case here, but it did buy just a little bit of additional time. We're going to see at least one, maybe two gens popping here. Our survivors did a very good job of buying some additional time, nonetheless, even with the early down and early tunnel out.
Yeah, Zynox is in a kind of a good position. He has 3 survivors left at 2 generators, but the generator split is so big right now, he's going to need some insane chases, and this Blast Mine is not going to be a good start for him right now. Zaphis is going to make some distance away, and another gen will pop. We're left with 1 standing, and the split isn't a 3-gen. Zynox has no control over the map right now as well.
Yeah, this is super tough here. I mean, you've had the... Listen, everything's fine there. Caught on the wrong side of the pallet for Wispy. Really tough.
Thought they could get the tower and sprayed off in time.
The question is, can you get at least enough time bought for your team to get the 5th and final gen? We know that we're going to at least see a couple of progression gens thanks to the eruption, but is there enough time? You know someone's on that one thanks to the call of Brian. This is going to be close.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be close. The question is,
that's so
like
far.
Saying, are they going to be able to make it in time? It is far. But Julian's only on 60% though. I think he might be able to make it. We hear the terror radius. He's coming, but I think he left. I don't think he's going. I don't think he committed to it. I think he hesitated just a little bit, and because of that, now Julian should be able to make his way and hide. Zynox could be able to find him, but if he's able to hide, this would be a huge opportunity, especially because we saw Zaphis going in for the save. Is he able to find him, though? That's the question. It doesn't look like it. He's hiding so well. Oh, but he gets caught out on the edge of the map. But he's next to a pallet at least. He does have an opportunity to get away if he's able to play this correctly. Julian going to try and get away, but the reset on the infections is going to happen in the distance. Oh, Julian gets found out on the tree as well. Zynox is going to be in a great position. He could still get a 4K. Everyone's injured. He can play around this pallet with his power if he wants to, but no, just going to go for the zoning. Oh, but Julian tries to get the blind, but it just wastes distance. He gets the down as well. Zaphis is going to get reset in the meantime, but Eruption's going to go off, regressing that gen just a little bit more, and Wispy is going to need to be reset in the meantime as this hook comes through, meaning that Zynox just has so much pressure on these generators now.
Yeah, I mean, you're really looking good. I mean, you did everything that you needed to do there, right? You needed to disrupt the 5th gen from popping. You were able to get the quick down. Now the question becomes, as far as with these other 2 survivors, Wispy and Zaphis, what are they doing? Because if they manage to sneak somewhere onto a gen, especially after the gen that's already been touched, if they can manage to hit perfect skill checks, that'd be huge. But you see, at least as far as for now, 1 here, Zaphis, kind of off in the distance, is moving in. You've also got Wispy, though, not working on a gen, so that does mean that as far as gen progression, not much happening. The 1 gen regression has at least been stopped.
But Zynox is still going to try and reapply that Call of Brian, but as we saw, Zaphis and Wispy are both nearby. They could come in for the save. Honestly, though, I wouldn't go for it if I was them. I would go on to these generators. The spread is so huge right now, and even though Zynox has kind of a good lineup of them, with his power, able to make a lot of traversal and the hook nearby, you still can get a lot of progress right now, and I think that's what you need, because Julian is basically as good as dead in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best. It's the only option, right? Sometimes the best option isn't always the easiest answer or the easiest solution to actually decide to make. But now Zaphis has been injured. You're so far away from the hook. He is going to double back, though. This is interesting.
Oh, the save comes through. I think you had to commit to Zaphis there, honestly. Like you were saying,
yeah.
It was so far away. You could have gotten a lot more pressure out, but still, the survivors are in a bad position. Julian could get it down right here. It's going to be very easy for Zynox to use his power. The only question, though, is does he still have borrowed time? And he doesn't. So Julian is going to get grabbed out of that window, and the eruption, as you hear Meg scream in the distance, meaning that Zynox is going to have a lot of pressure on these generators. If he's able to find Zaphis, this game is basically over. And he turned it around from a situation where the survivors were pumping out these gens really, really fast to one where they have basically no pressure at all.
And now here you've been, oh man, this is just, the question becomes, I guess I hear, swinging here and at least be able to prolong this chase a little bit, but you don't have enough progress into any of these other gens here. You're also going to be guaranteed to know the location of Zaphis here, thanks to that call of Ryan. And now I don't remember, I don't think we have very many resources left over on the side of the map, right?
I think we only have this pallet, and then the shack is also down already. So yeah, this pallet really is the only thing that Zappos can play through with him. When he's injured, there's not much he can do, but he doesn't hit the tree. He gets a little bit more distance. There might be a rock tile here that we don't know about, and it seems like there is. Zappos has a little bit more to play around. He's able to make the file as well. Zynox has to leave, and Wispy all in this meantime is working on this Jhin. Like I said before, they were playing that back and forth. They forced Zynox all the way across the map towards Zappos. That means Wispy could have gone on this Jhin, and now Wispy is going to leave early once again, so Zappos is going to return back to their Jhin. They're going to have so much progress being built up on these generators, and playing in between of them like this is so good for them. And now, even though Zynox has kicked that Jhin, is heading already back towards this Jhin, because so much progress has already been gained, Zappos could get reset, or Wispy could go and start working on that other generator as well.
Man, this is playing a 2v1 almost perfectly to a T. The only problem is, man, you've got so much. I mean, even just a couple of seconds of staying off the gens is a little bit of regression with that call of Brian, right? Not only that, but then you also have the pressure of, I need to hit a great skill check, because the minute that I do not, our killer knows exactly where I am. So it's also not only that, but every time they come over and take chase, even though it's only filler pallets, you're still getting them down and out of the way here. Now you're going to get an Ender onto Wispy here as well. I think we might be seeing this game coming to an end soon.
I think we might too, but Zappos might get that last generator. Had a lot of progress. If Wispy's able to go for a little bit more, he misses. Oh, he misses onto Wispy. That's so huge. If Wispy's able to make it to a pallet now, he's going to extend this chase for a couple more seconds. Zappos, we know he's working on it. We know how much progress there's. There's still a chance for this last generator to go, and if that last generator to go, it's going to change the win condition, and that's going to be so huge for Astray. Another miss!
Oh.
How did he miss that at point blank? That's so huge.
And you see another notification, but that Gen is
leave.
so far away. Going to have to try and close that distance here, at least for the first time with the power. You can very easily call it out to your teammate that they are on the way, so it's very easy to pre-leave here. The pressure definitely going to be being felt here by Zynox. Get blinded, thanks to the last line there as well. Sure, chuckling a little bit along the way as you hear that little bit of crackle in the distance as you're running. Going to at least be seeing Wispy spraying themselves off here so they no longer have that hindrance, but they're still both injured. I don't know if you take the risk of trying to be found together, trying to go for the reset. What do you do here?
I think you have to go for the reset. Zynox is going to play back and forth in between the generators, and while both of them have some decent progress, it's not enough to really force a position where you can play uninjured. Zappos, however, is going to get found out. Wispy has to return back to that generator, but there's not a lot for Zappos to play around right here. He has this jungle gym pallet, but that's about it, and Mastermind is really good at outplaying these types of pallets, especially the long wall ones, because he's able to use his power to go across those windows so effectively, and these pallets basically mean nothing as well. But oh, he gets the stun. That's so good from Zappos right now. The only question is, where is Wispy? Are they on that generator, and how much progress were they able to build up if they were? Oh, but it doesn't look like, or maybe they pre-ran so early that we don't even see them right now. Zynox, oh yeah, that seems to be the case since this gen's not regressing anymore. However, if you are keenly eyed aware right there, you can see that that generator does not have as much progress as it did when Zynox originally kicked it, meaning that even though Wispy was able to get a couple more seconds on it, it still was enough. Oh, and he sees the scratch marks as well, but he's not going to commit to it just yet. Maybe Zappos is in a worse position. No, he's just trying to pressure him off that generator and start the regression on that as well, but he knows that Wispy's on that one, so he can immediately return over there. Oh, and Wispy's found out in the open as well. Zynox can cut him off with his power as well. There's basically nothing that Wispy can do in this corner. He has to juke out of his mind around these trees.
Yeah, and you can just see end up going to go ahead and die comp corner, try and buy as much time as possible. Of course, thanks to the eruption, going to get a little bit of additional assistance on the regression of those generators. And you'll also notice with the hook count that even though this is a second hook onto Wispy, they are not sacrificed just quite yet. I would imagine, though, Zynox is imagining the same thing as me. We're going to be anticipating sacrifice being come across soon. Then it's a hatch game, or maybe, just maybe, you have enough room to make a play at a door, but I don't think that's really the case on Shelter.
Yeah, I think it's hard, especially with the traversal that Mastermind has on this map. Since it's so wide out in the open, there's not really a lot of line of sight blockage preventing him from just going straight in a line from door to door. So Wispy, even if they take the death here, yeah, but they're not. They're going to fight for it. Both of the survivors aren't giving up just yet. They're not going to play around hatch. They're not going to play around doors. No miracle is going to play. They're just going to try and play this out with the skill. Zaphis will get the save, but there's not a lot of play around. Zynox should be able to get the confirmed hit, but no, Zaphis somehow able to get away since Zynox hit that wall. Now has a couple more seconds to play around, but ooh, Zynox does a perfect vault into the face of Zaphis, and now only this pallet to play around. However, ooh, I was gonna say Zaphis should get hit over this pallet, but just barely is able to avoid the window where Mastermind would hit over that pallet. So now a lot of distance gain, could play around this pallet for a couple more seconds as Zynox isn't able to improve his play around it, meaning Wispy is gonna have some time to work on that generator, and now we're in a situation where once again this last generator could be completed. Zaphis doing a great job at continuing this chase and some wonderful unique pathing around there, able to go around the rock and back towards this rock tile as well. Such good experience from these survivors to show such a good result right here in this end game.
Yeah, that's my boy Zaphis right there serving the juice, and you love to see it. You can't help but wonder though, I feel like you've had enough time that if Wispy was on the right generator, it would have been close to popping. It's not the case. Wispy found in a locker, and that means that we are going. You know what? It's like it looked like there's gonna be enough time, and now it's just a 4K. That's crazy.
Yeah. That was such a crazy result. Wispy was set up there trying to make it to where when Zaphis made it back around from that rock tile, they were going to able to use that head on, but no, not enough time. And somehow we hear the killer, the Mastermind, is able to hear Wispy in that locker, gets the pickup onto them, and now the 4K will come out at one generator remaining. This is such a good result for the Mastermind.
Yeah, it's a great start. I mean, really what you needed to do for Torment after dropping the last set here, especially because now you still have the ability. You don't have to worry about getting out the doors. You just have to worry about completing the gens. And again, I know we make that sound so easy, but it's nice to at least have that be the simple cutoff, you know?
No, yeah, I definitely do agree. Like we said before, it's such a good thing to have that win condition in your head. It sets up such a good mental state for your team. But honestly, Astray showed such good performance on the Survivor there. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an even better performance on the killer. Will they master the Mastermind after a short break? That's what remains to be seen.
All right, let's go ahead and take ourselves another trip here back in the fog. And if you're Astray, you have the potential to wrap things up here quickly. Wispy going to be out on the Mastermind, but if Torment has their way, they're going to try and complete these gens, all 5 of them, and get out the door. Zynox, Coda, Ivan, Silhe, if they get all 5 gens complete, that's simply all you need to do. You don't even need to worry about how many stages you get out the door or nothing like that. But these first chases really going to be what's important, and you can see that Wispy has already been able to locate a survivor.
Oh no! Well, Silhe is able to manage to get by though. Oh, that's gonna be so huge. Wispy almost had such a good start there, but Silhe just barely able to get by. I thought the NA East EU connection there was going to play out for Wispy's favor, but no, Silhe is able to get just by. A couple more seconds on this chase. We'll continue onto this rock tile. It's going to be very hard for Wispy to try and use their power around this tile without just breaking it and zoning them away and then using their power, and it seems like Wispy knows that. So now they're going to force themselves over to where Coda is and tries to force them towards this Team L. This should result in a hit pretty soon unless Wispy messes up their power or Coda lands a very good mind game. Oh my god, the quick and quiet, such good perk value right there, able to extend the chase just a couple more seconds, but it doesn't even matter to Wispy as they still land an M1 on the back of them.
Yeah, still able to get the M1, but the question being now, can you get the down and make this able to, you need to end this chase because this chase is going on in the corrupted zone. So with this being in the corrupted zone, the other survivors we haven't seen have had plenty of time now. We're talking about more than a minute to crank on these gens. Don't be surprised if you say 1, 2, maybe even a third pop relatively soon.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very, very good turn pressure from the survivors, or at least an ability to. We see one already at 90, one at 70, and another at 90. Like you said, 2 to 3 are about to pop right now. Coda's first hook will come through, but the only thing stopping those generators is going to be that pain resonance. But it doesn't even go off. If you look at the top right, that wasn't a scourge hook. There's 2 gens because of that, and a third one on the way. Wispy is in such a bad situation now.
Yeah, this is really, really tough here. This is the start that Torment was looking for. Remember, all they need to do is complete the gens. One thing that is working on your side, if you're Wispy, this hook is deep back. You could potentially try and play and set up on this 3-gen. I am kind of concerned, though, as far as, okay, the 3rd gen that popped is actually a little bit closer to more of the center of the map. I was going to say, if it's the one that was getting looked at across the way, that's big, but we do know at the one across the way, there's already a survivor on it. If that survivor over it already starts cranking, and even if they don't come in for the save, you're breaking up any sort of chance on a 3-gen. You're like Gucci at that point.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be incredibly difficult for Wispy to end this in-game. Coda will hit second, but does that even matter? Wispy needs downs, and they need him now. He needs to just go out and try to find one of these survivors and get it down before the save can even come through. But the survivors are doing such a great job at playing patient right here. You see that the survivor already pre-ran, and it isn't even near here, and the save just came through as well. Such good play for the survivors here on Torment. You know why this is Torment's pick, why they love the Mastermind, and why it was their favorite pick.
Yeah, this is going to be big for them too here, because now they can try and make that big turnaround as far as the momentum. You and I have casted plenty of games today where that momentum going in the 3rd set can be absolutely huge.
Yep.
Nice play though here by Wispy in order to be able to establish the down. But the question is, do you maybe buy enough time to get any sort of other gens done? Because that is the sacrifice here.
Yeah, that's going to be the sacrifice. That's a lot. That's big. But keep in mind, we're already on 70% on one. This will be the time condition. Once one more generator pops, Wispy needs to stop any more progress from happening. They find one of the survivors. Is that Silhey though? No, that's Yvonne. So that means that Silhey should be able to finish their generator and guarantee the tie here.
I mean, with 3v1, it is still possible. Wispy could make the play. Let's not count them out just quite yet, but you need to start.
Oh, there it is. We count it out.
There it is.
There's the tie.
Yeah,
at least. The survivors.
The question though now becomes, if you serve the juice here, if you're Yvonne, even though it's a 3v1, you might be able to buy enough time to get these gen work done, because there's so much pressure early on Dakota. I'm not exactly sure how much pressure is into the gen on the furthest side of Shack from us. So for that reason, you can actually see Wispy thinking the same thing I am, and is going to go ahead and break chase and check in on these gens.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you need to do right now. You can't allow another one to pop. At best, you want to tie here so that you have the advantage going in and you don't technically have a loss on your side. You only have that one win, so that another set has to be played. If the other team wants to come out here and actually win this trial, they have to win 2 sets in a row once again after getting that tie. So that's going to be a lot of gameplay that they have to play. But Yvonne going down right here and the 2 eruptions going off, that's going to put Wispy in a great position to set up this tie.
Yeah, especially because I saw one aura. Did we get both people on gens?
Yeah, both people.
Oh, that is so tough. So for 25 seconds, all they can do is run around and try and potentially start working themselves to set up for a save, but they're not going to be able to do anything here. That's big here for Wispy to try and, like you talked about, try and set up to go for the save. Hey, but
oh my God.
Was against the tree twig or something there, I guess, as far as from our side there. But that's going to be Silhey found. Now Silhey's going to try and build that distance. Silhey going to go against the tree. This is a big, quick chase here for Wispy.
This is so good. The question now is, where is Zynox? What are they doing? It seems like they're going in for the save. However, we should see that Wispy's going to be right back on their back, and yep, there he sees Yvonne as well. Wispy could get it down onto Yvonne, but no, it seems like he's going to go for Zynox. I don't know if that's the right play, as Yvonne is going to be able to rotate around and get the save. However, Zynox is heading towards the Shack, so that's the question. Who do you go for right now? Oh, it's so hard. Yvonne's going to be a little bit zoned off, though. Wispy going back to the hook, I think, is a great play as well, though.
Did Wispy just kick a gen that had like 5%?
Yeah, I mean, Eruption
Is this
value.
a pub game?
Eruption value. Look,
Oh, okay.
I remember value.
All right, yeah. I mean, I guess. But we do see those save does come in. Now we're going to have two separate survivors that are going to be injured. I think that's actually both of them that are heading towards the top side of the map here, which, I mean, I guess now the double gen kick looks like it works in your favor. You know, you're going to get some value off of those. I don't know if we happen to have anybody on the gens, but regardless, more regression coming in, and you'll see Wispy more than happy to make the trip towards the middle of the map, move this hook a little bit closer to these gens to be able to monitor both them and the hook. And you got a survivor that's running away from here. I think that was Sprinto Bursto that got them just enough distance.
So almost you said there, but no,
Yeah,
Zynox is going to be able to run around the shack now because of that Wispy, and not able to land a hit just yet. That's going to buy a little bit more time for Silla to rotate around and get the save, and they do. Ooh, but I hate that. I hate that when a survivor has endurance, Mastermind just hits them instead of picking them up and throwing them, because what happens there is if Ivan gets picked up and thrown at Silhay, then both of them are in deep wound, and that causes so much slowdown, which would have been so good for Wispy, but because of the mechanics, only Yvonne will get that deep wound, and Silhay will just continue the chase as normal. Zynox, in the meantime, should be probably going for the reset onto Yvonne or working out on one of these generators. However, I don't think there's enough progress right now. I think you have to try and bet on the reset onto Yvonne.
Yeah, I think that's your best case here, right? You need to make it so both survivors can extend chase a little bit. However, we see just spraying themselves down. We do have the Zynox right around, what's that, 60-ish% onto the generator, so not enough to really be able to get it too close. There is going to be creating that distance once again is Zynox, but that means Yvonne, who is going to be moving in here for the save, is going to be injured. Now, it does look like there's enough distance that you can come in for the save here at this point, but now you can get every survivor in the match injured as long as you can land that dash right there. Zynox not going to really have too far to go either. Yeah, really tough, and he's pinched back here. There's no resources.
Yeah, he should just go down here. Ooh, but Wispy pulls up a little bit too soon. They were hoping for their power, but it doesn't even matter. There we go. We get that NA connection into Zynox's face, and we'll get another hook coming through. This, honestly, Q, this might be a tie. That means we're going to have to replay the Wesker set, and there's so much more Dead by Daylight to play if that does happen.
Yeah, taste that NA West connection. Get behavior, big boys. Zynox going to be going up onto the hook. That is a fresh hook here, though, so we do have plenty of hang time. Oh, my goodness. That is going to be Silhay here getting caught out in the middle of nowhere. Now going to be going to the TNL. The question is, can you buy just enough time to allow for the safe save? Because we know that there is some hang time, but there's not really any gens that we have that much pressure on. We don't want to allow the slug, so a smart play to jump into the locker. The question is, where's Yvonne? Yvonne's going to at least get the save.
Yeah, that's at least good for them. Silhay, however, will be on Death Hook, and Zynox will be soon hitting that hindered status effect on his infection as well. Wispy in such a good position. I don't think there's a way as well, since the gens aren't as spread as they were in the previous game, for these survivors to go out and get another generator done. I'm thinking we see the tie here. The only way that this doesn't get a tie is if Yvonne gets a really wonderful chase, and with that first dodge right there, I think we might have the potential to see that.
Yeah, the only problem, though, is where do you go from here? You literally have no resources back here. Try and juice the infinite Z-wall, I guess. We did see the a little bit of indication across the way because of that spray of the trying to get rid of the effect there, but this is going to be a 4K.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way out of this right now unless Zynox is able to hide and get one of the doors. But again, you're going to leave that up to chance. I don't know if there's a big enough chance for that. It's going to have to be a miracle for that to come out, to be honest.
Now, I guess then here in that case, do you feel like on the side of Astray, it's got to feel like a win, because it really feels like you scratched and clawed your way back, and now you get to be the one to set the tone, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they needed here. Keep in mind as well, this is Torment's pick. This is exactly what you need. You need to mess up their tempo. You already won your pick. Getting a tie here, even if you end up losing after the tie reset, going into that tiebreaker, you're going to be the ones with the advantage. You're going to have so much up against Torment right here, because Torment needs to win this for the good mental. Zynox will go down. That's almost almost going to guarantee the 4K. The only way that this will ever have any other outcomes is if Ivan bleeds out, but nope, he's dead on hook. So actually, even if Ivan bleeds out, that's going to be a 4K, the full 28 points awarded here for Wispy.
Wow, what a comeback there too, because we were kind of thinking that it was looking like we were gonna be moving very quickly into that third set, and now you run things back here. Wispy showing that it ain't over until it's over. Able to find Ivan back here as well, up on the hook. They go, and you know, good day. I'm not sure what resolution you're watching this thing in, man, but that does indeed look like a 4K to me.
Yeah, such a good comeback here from Wispy and from Astray. Torment had such a good tempo on the start of this match, but they were able to reset that tempo, force a tie, and now the reset will come through. Wispy, I believe, once again will play the Wesker and set that tempo after a short break.
All right, let's go ahead and take ourselves another trip here back into the Fog set number 2.2. We're going to be running things back here. Wispy one more time out here on the Mastermind. Zynox, Coda, Ivan, Sile out on the Survivor side for Torment. And this was Torment's pick. And now you can't help but wonder if they feel the pressure having to set the tone on the Survivor side, especially because Astray won their set, so they're already down 1-0.
Yeah, you know, honestly, after Torment's start in that previous match, I was really expecting Wispy to lose this set and go to the tiebreaker, but they were able to reset it. You know, Wispy really pulling out the NA spirit, pulling out a miracle 4K right now. I can't believe they were able to do it, but keeping NA alive right now. We're going to continue this match. We see a bunch of survivors, but Wispy not committing to one of these chases just yet. Instead, just going to set up the eruption for later in the game. A really smart play to do right now where you don't have a lot to do in the early game. I really like that play coming out from Wispy. Now going to also interrupt Zynox, who is on this generator as well, getting that info from the call of Brian as well. We'll see that the firecracker will go down, but it won't be enough. Zynox will throw down the pallet, but Wispy going to be right on their tail. This might result in an M1 in the back if they're not careful.
Yeah, really good read though. Looks like they slow. I didn't hear the sound, but it might have been a slow mo. But regardless, still staying upright, still staying fully healthy there, avoiding the double dash. And remember, the longer this first chase goes, it does allow their three, well, not one, not two, but three other survivors to start tackling into the generators themselves, really start working on that progress. You had seen Wispy take time early to kick the gens to help with the eruption, but if you're not getting downs, you ain't getting no eruption value.
Exactly. Wispy is going to need some pressure in these chases. The survivors doing a much better job here in the early game of preventing these hits from coming out. Wispy really needs to convert something right now, and they need to do it fast, but this head-on that comes through is going to mean that that's going to be a little bit longer away still. But, oh, Ivan actually does some really bad pathing back into Wispy there, meaning that the hit will still come through even after the head-on. Getting a little greedy there with the pathing, maybe trying to force them away from the other survivors' generators. Yep, you can see as Zynox is also nearby, but still Wispy will get the hit onto Ivan, now onto Zynox, and also the deep wound onto Ivan as well. This is going to be such a great start for them.
Yeah, really strong start. Now you have to try and, oh, I thought was going to see if he could switch that down, but Ivan's still being close. You do see a first gen gets popped across the way. We do have to keep in mind as well that with this survivor bearing themselves in comp corner, there are more gens that were further across the way that could still be potentially being worked on, that have quite a bit of already progress. But to be able to at least get this down, really big for Wispy, able to get this first hook and start getting that progress into the game.
Yeah, but as you can see, like you said, a lot of progress on these generators, but two more, like we saw in the previous game, already with 90%. But Wispy this time is going to have a much better chance of coming out over here and interrupting them. We see the call of Brian being applied to this one. Hopefully there was a Scourge hook on that hook as well to try and force some reset on the other one. If so, Wispy is in a much better spot, and that seems exactly what it is, as Wispy finds the other generator as well. Now, only one generator done, and you can sit in between both of these generators with a lot of progress and the hook all at the same time. Very good position from Wispy to be in.
Yeah, we do see they're able to say get stun stupid, plus then Wood out of the face, able to build some big distance as well, which means you don't have to worry about any other health state changes. The good news for you if you're the survivors, though, is there's quite a bit of progress in the gen. So even if they regress back for a little bit, even though there's going to be a little bit of a hit in the heart, you still have everybody else still up. Only one injured survivor. You are going to see the sound notification across the way from an OK skill check. We see Nia gets caught. That's going to be Coda injured as well, which means this might not get done. That's going to be a grab, and that's
so huge.
Absolutely huge.
That's insane. That's actually out of this world. That reverses the entire pressure that we saw built up from Torment. Another generator was done, but it doesn't even matter. Yvonne's going to get camped out. Another hook's going to come through. Zynox and Silhey both need to work on these generators, and because of that, Zynox isn't going to get a reset. This is going into the end game in a horrible situation.
Yeah, and especially because if you look, you can see that 3 generators right around us, one of those getting regressed, or should have been getting regressed still quite a bit, thanks to that call of Brian from earlier. I thought maybe not quite the case, but you are seeing the reset coming in.
That's a bad idea. I think that's wasting too much time. I think you need to get on those generators. You need to at least force a situation where it's going to be a 4K1 once again. And now they're so far from Yvonne, they're not going to be able to get the save, and this hook is going to come through. This is very, very bad for Zynox and Silhey. They either needed to commit to the unhook or commit to the generators. Committing to the reset, I think, is the worst play you could have done in this scenario.
Yeah, especially because now that second hook is literally dead center in the middle of the 3-gen here for Wispy. So if you want, you can make the decision to not even check in on that gen all the way across the map. It doesn't matter if that thing pops. You're set up for the late game with where Coda's getting hooked at.
You know, honestly, though, I think you do want to check this. Because the last match ended in 4K1, the one before that ended in 4K1, you want to go for a 4K2, and Zynox is going to be working on this generator, and we're going to see him camping out this, but I really don't think you need to here in the late game. There's 3 people left. You've shown, Wispy has shown, time and time again, that they're able to really manage 3 survivors in an in-game, so I think you don't really want to commit to a camp out, but maybe they think they have time, but I don't know if they do with Zynox. You have to go across the map. You see how far that is, and we know Silhey is going to be nearby as well, going for the unhook as soon as they hit second stage. So Wispy isn't even wasting time by forcing them to second stage. They have to force them to death. That's what they're doing, but Zynox is going to get that last generator, and I don't know if that's what you want to set up your win condition to be in the next game.
Yeah, I just think you take the risk, though, that if you leave across the way, then they get the quick unhook. Then let's say they get back to, in this case, Shaq, get the reset. I feel like there's a bigger risk. The risk of loss is much bigger than the risk of gain. You know what I mean?
I mean, I agree with you there. But I think if you're Wispy, seeing what Torment was able to do on the killer side, even though your survivors played really well, I think you have to risk for that. Silhey's going for the save, but that must mean that Zynox is already, nearby, I was going to say it, able to make it across the map. However, all 3 survivors are now injured. All 3 of them are next to Wispy. They should have committed to that gen. I don't think Zynox should have been here. I don't think Silhey should have gone for the save. I think this is a horrible play.
Yeah, you really hate to see it because now you have all 3 injured survivors. Now you do gotta say though for the survivors. Yes. Oh, get slapped with the D. This is big though. At least that prolongs the chase a little bit longer.
Zynox might be able to get the gen now. Silhey, Coda might even be able to live. This actually, the DS just turned everything around.
This is, I don't know what I'm watching here right now. This is insane, but you got us. Did they get caught up on that first one?
Yes.
Is that what it looked like on my screen?
Yes, they hit the rock.
But
they find Zynox, but it's not in time! He gets the gen! Now they have a potential to get all the generators done. Zynox isn't dead on hook. The only one left dead on hook is Coda.
Yeah, but I don't think that any of those gens over by where the hook were have that much progress, right? Like, you should be able to still get this hook and go over there.
Yeah, you can go over there, but the thing is, you're going to be playing 1 generator with 3 people up. You've only ever played 1 generator with 2 people up in the previous games. But the 3 gen is also really close.
That 3 gen is pretty disgusting.
I don't know. This is better situation than last game, and also a worse situation in different ways. Coda will get saved. Oh no, Coda gets reset. Zynox still on hook, but they do find the reset. Silhey's right there, but ooh, Wispy on the back of Coda, not Silhey. You want to try to cut off Silhey. He's going for the shack. You could use your power to go over there, but ooh, no, I think they're just going to commit to Coda. They are red, so that grab will be the instant pickup. Silhey also going to be cut off, but again, even if they go and get Silhey right now, which I don't think they have time to, I think Silhey's going to be able to make it cross-map towards that hook. In the meantime, this still will only be a 4K1. You really wanted that 4K2.
But now, wait a minute. Has the second stage been forced already on Zynox? No, it did.
Still on that first stage as well.
It's like almost like deja vu here all over again. You're seeing we got 2 survivors left, 1 gen needing to be complete. The only problem is we know that there's like no progress. Oh, a nice hit here through the window as well, which means Zynox being the last one up. We're gonna go ahead and slug for the 4K. And I mean, what do you think the chances are we run it back one more time?
I would think that's impossible, honestly. 4K1, definitely a good place to be on the second time playing, because even though it's not as good as a 4K2, I think Wispy still could have played for the 4K2. A 4K1 on the second time around is better than a 4K1 on the first time around, because now your survivor team has more experience, and this survivor team should theoretically have more experience and have a better result the second time around playing this set. So being able to repeat your score from the first round is definitely not a bad thing. I just think Wispy could have done better in this scenario.
I think that's fair. That's fair. So now we're going to see here Zynox going to try and stay at least into a disclosed location, try and see if maybe you still have a potential in a hatch play, because if you can crawl far away, well, I guess it doesn't matter, right? The person, wait, is the person on the floor death hook or no?
No, they're not. That's a fresh hook. So that would be a -1. Yeah, that would be a -1 point if they bleed out here. They have to hook them. Zynox can't bleed out either. One of them, both of them have to be hooked here. Neither of them are on death hook. Wispy has to find them. I think though, in Shelter Woods, there's only a couple places you really have to look. I think eventually they're going to have to go to basement. I don't know if basement is the best hiding spot for Zynox right now.
Especially because you're injured, right? I mean, once they get close enough, they know that you're in there, then they just have to figure out which locker to check. But you also got to remember that there's 4 minutes of bleed out timer. Silhey getting about 20 seconds or so shy of being halfway there. So let's say if Wispy were to walk over to the shack in 20 seconds from now, search for 20 seconds, then you have to hunt down Silhey, who's got at that point very minimal bleed out time left. So it's gonna get close.
It's going to be very, very close. Wispy needs to get this 4K. They're doing a great job at splitting up here, too, as well. You see them on opposite corners of the map. Shelter Woods is the second largest map in the game, so this is definitely what you want to do, and Wispy knows that, so they're trying to go and try and find Silhey now that they've lost him, and they do find the slug, but now the question is, are they going to play around doors? No, they're not going to play around doors. The hatch will spawn at shack. Wispy knows that, too. They should just go for this hook, I think, and play around the doors. You are Mastermind. You should just try and win this game and not risk losing the slug. And it seems like they're finally going to go and commit to that.
Yeah, I mean, especially because at this point, the last thing you want to do is lose any points. You know that this was the tie condition before, and you're in a condition, or you're in a place where you can still get to the shack. But we know that this team from Torment had quite a bit of fight last game. Don't be surprised to maybe still see them go for one more save.
I mean, they might, but I don't think so. I think Zynox has to just play around for a miracle. There's nothing really they can do right now in this scenario. Like, even if they go for this save, I think they're only shooting themselves in the foot. Because really, what you wanted was a bleed out, but now that you're not able to go for a bleed out, you have to either force a save and go for someone getting lost, which is going to be even harder. So it's so much harder to lose someone than it is to hide for doors, I think, on Shelter Woods especially. Even with Mastermind's power to play across doors across the map, if you're still able to hide, because it takes so long for Wispy to recharge their power. So in the time for the recharge, you can just go and hide in one of these lockers, I think.
Have we seen any of the, there's one door right behind this hook, it looks like, right? Do we know where the other door is right now?
I don't think we do. And one of the good things about...
I saw we're updating the scoreboard too. Torment does have 8, right? Not 6?
Yes, 8. They do have 8. But one thing you have to keep in mind now that we're on the back of this door is that what's it called? Wispy doesn't have to check that door anymore, so they can immediately head over to the other one. So as Zynox, you're gonna honestly want to head over to where Silhey is, because Wispy doesn't need to check that door anymore, and that seems like what Zynox do. He's nearby the hook. Yep, they're gonna try and set up for this. Now it's all gonna come down to 50-50. Wispy has to close the hatch. But now that they've wasted so much time, I wonder if they will still go over and check Silhey's door. And they will? They're gonna head over there? No, they're gonna head in between. They might be able to watch both doors. There might be an angle for them.
We're gonna have to see here. Took a very quick glance over to the right. Maybe
Oh, they
if you do
find
the
him, Zynox!
Oh, not
He's at
like,
3 lights
wait.
too! Oh, wait, sprint burst! If he's able to stun him and somehow miraculously get back here, if he's able to lose him, no. Oh, cut short. Wispy wasn't able to let us dream, and the down will come through, and that will be the 4K.
Man, 4K, 4 gens complete, 1 gen left standing. If you're watching and you're like, it feels like I've heard this narrative before. Well, here we are, Mastermind. We're gonna be back here again with Torment coming out here, gonna be on the killer side. And if you're on the survivor side from Astray, you've been able to sit and watch back-to-back matches. I feel like they're gonna have a trick or two up their sleeve, right?
No, I mean, they definitely have to, right? We saw how good they were in the chases on even the first round. I think Astray survivors are just going to come back even stronger than they were in chase, and now be more organized against the Wesker as well. They've had so much experience. They've been able to watch Wispy play against another team. They know what that team has done, that's worked, and how they've split up. I think their chases in the early game are going to be so good. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some escapes in the next round, just based off how much experience Astray has going into this tiebreaker.
Well, I mean, there's only one way to find out, and that's to let these two teams duke it out. We'll be back to figure it out with our second edition of our second game of our second set right after this. All right, it all comes down to this, our second match of our second set. Again, we're going to be seeing Zynox here out on the Mastermind. Wispy, Kopi, Chobani, Zaf is out for Astray here on the survivor side, and all they need to do is simply complete the generators. Good day. It feels like I've heard this narrative on this story once or twice already today.
We might be having a little bit of deja vu, even though that's a banned perk, you know. I think this is a little bit of a reset of the previous situation. Hopefully, however, Zynox is either able to win this out, or the survivors of Astray are able to win this out, so we don't have to once again go through a tie. That would be, I think, a little bit of a cheeky situation. But the survivors are doing a much better job here against Zynox of preventing these first hits from coming through. Even though Wispy did use a very strong pallet at the start, and the other survivors have used a lot of these strong pallets, all that really needs to happen right now is preventing this first hit. Kopi did a wonderful job there as well. Immediately pre-dropping, makes it to this pallet, immediately pre-drops, vaults over, doesn't get hit by Zynox. This is exactly what you need. You see this progress right here. This one's already around 30% right there. That's so good for Zynox here already, or sorry, not Zynox, for Astray survivors, and bad for Zynox because there is no pressure on these survivors at all in the way of injuries. Even there, barely in the nick of time, Zaphis is able to make it across the pallet thanks to that pre-drop, and this is exactly what you have to do when you're playing comp survivors and when your win condition is just complete all the gens.
Yeah, you can see here, I mean, you know, kind of like I'm seeing in most of my typical DBD games, break and chase to go kick a generator here. Nice plays here from Zynox, but very quickly here, able to find their way towards another survivor. Of course, they're going to throw that pallet down, gives them a little bit of leeway around here. Zynox doing a good job of zoning them towards the corner before the pallet break itself. That is going to be one pallet that's out of the way. Corrupt is up, so that means that we've been in this trial for 90 seconds, which means we're bound to see some gens pop soon.
Yeah, Zynox doesn't have a lot of pressure. 3 survivors were left uncontested. Only now Chobani taking the first injury after a couple minutes, at least 2, into this trial. Really good for the survivors right now. Zynox needs this down very fast, but Chobani should relatively be safe here as long as they don't misplay another, or the first gen for Astray will pop as well. We should see 2 more popping in the meantime before this chase ends. There's another one.
Wow.
2 more, 1 more, please, to come through right now. This would be huge. Chobani, however, is probably going to get camped out. We might see them out of the game very soon.
I don't know if you have the time to camp them out. Do you, Gane? Because if right now, if you go for the camp out, you could split up your 3 survivors and those gens are done in 90 seconds. That's 2 minutes of hang time that Chobani has here, especially because you can see, well, we can see here, 1 gen already around 40%, a 2nd gen already getting worked on here as well. So Zynox is going to be forced to put pressure away, which works out for Astray here because that means you should be able to get the save and more than likely get the concurrent reset with it as well.
The only problem that I can see for Astray right now is they are wasting so many of these pallets. After that pallet right there in the corner is broken, Zaphis has nothing in this corner. This corner will be essentially dead. Anyone who goes over here will only have a window to play around. So that generator right next to that area is going to be very, very easy for Zynox to control if he wants to. However, it's also going to be out of the 3-gen, and when you want to prevent the survivors from completing all gens, the 3-gen is almost essential. Zynox, however, is going to have to change his priorities as he's trying to look for Chobani for the reset, but doesn't find anybody, just the remnants of somebody, a ghost nearby, if you will.
Who's he swinging?
Yeah, exactly. Only the scratch marks to find in that area. So Chobani is going to be very safe, be able to get away. The survivors get a full reset. We're at the start of the game. The only thing that Zynox has been able to get rid of is some pallets, but we do find, however, some more scratch marks that probably were the ones that originally Zynox was swinging at earlier. And that's going to be Chobani as well. They're going to be incidentable. Zynox does have some pressure here if he's able to get his power use off here, but Chobani should be relatively safe now that he's at a short wall. While the long wall is easy for Mastermind to use his power out, the short wall is infinitely harder. So now Zynox forcing him away is going to be so good, but he throws him into a wall. He doesn't hit one himself, meaning Chobani's going to have some more time. He's going to be able to make the window as well. Another generator goes off. Only one more is remaining.
And what's important to realize here,
actually,
that was Nia. That was so smart. Which means
and
that
the life as well!
And making more distance because life is indeed life.
This should be so good. Astray only with one generator pop. Zynox does have a 3-gen, but if he can't get it down, he's going to have no pressure inside of it. And Kopi is at a short wall once again. This should be free. There's the last gen. Astray will win it out.
Not even needing a third set, able to come into Torment's pick here, the Mastermind. When it looked like Wispy had the chips down, was able to fight back, go into overtime, and then the Survivor Squad able to come out here, complete the gen, and it looks like there's going to be plenty of stages getting out these doors.
Yep, there's the door already open. We see Zynox on the heels of Kopi. They will probably go down in the basement, but that's still 3 people at the door. There's Wispy. Come on, give us 2 more.
Yeah, there it is. 1, 2, 3 out the door. 8 stages out the door. Remember that it was a 4K at 4 gens complete that forced the reset in set number 2 on Torment's pick, and then Astray comes in after getting another 4K at 4 gens complete, comes in on the Survivor stage. 8 stages out. That's insane.
That was so well played from Astray there. Like I said, they took what they needed to know from Wispy's games. They took what they needed to know from their own games, and they were able to keep those chases up and throw those pallets down and just play so safe. And that's exactly what happens when you play safe against a Mastermind. You just lose. As the Mastermind, you just lose. And the survivors are able to do so much gens. It's so hard to try and cut off these survivors. You really need to be exceptional at the Mastermind to be able to play around, drop pallets, and even then, it's going to take a little bit longer than if the survivors were playing risky. So it's so good to see from Astray to adapt to the Mastermind, adapt to Torment's pick, now take the win, and send Torment out of this match, out of this tournament. This is them gone.